So as His Excellency mentioned, we've been working with an extraordinary group of innovators, regulators, customers, suppliers over the last 4 or 5 months, which was preceded by about 6 months of informal conversations, thanks in no small part to Bruce Fenton, who I believe can't be here today, and his work about a year and a half ago at the Dubai Blockchain Conference at DIFC. At that time, or where I was lucky to be a speaker, I really didn't expect to see very many people in the audience, and I was quite surprised to see something on the order of 80 to 150 people that I had no idea who they were. And my job is to know cool people in Dubai and to figure out what interesting things are happening. So it was stunning to me to see this entire community working in blockchain and Bitcoin that I had no awareness of. So at that event, I echoed the sentiments of His Excellency Mr. Al-Alili and said, we really want to explore this with you. We want you here. But I was very busy with some other projects at the time, and thanks to Walid Driss, Walid is here somewhere, he was very persistent and said, these people want to talk to you. There's really some critical momentum happening here. We want you here. Let's do something. So we began an informal series of conversations to help us understand what blockchain was and how we could help to facilitate growth in the ecosystem here. And that led to the Global Blockchain Council, which, as His Excellency mentioned, has today over 44 extraordinary institutions, from regulators to banks to multinational corporations to small startups. And so what I would like to do today is introduce my panelists. These are just 7 of the 44 members on the council. And when I say members, I don't mean individuals. I mean corporations, government departments, entities, regulators. So it's quite a huge group of people. And the point of the Global Blockchain Council is to learn by doing. The point is to try and do things which help us understand the potentials and also the issues that we should be paying attention to as a regulator, and try to advance the state of the conversation here in a way which is the most productive way possible. So today we're very proud to announce 7 pilot projects, and these are 7 of more than 20 pilot projects that have been developed over the last 2 or 3 months. These are the ones that are both ready to be announced today and can be spoken about in public. I can say with confidence there's at least as many that are ready to be announced today but are not yet comfortable speaking in public. There's a lot of extraordinary work happening behind the scenes, and there will be more pilot projects coming in the next few months as well as they develop in the partnerships form. So without further ado, I'm going to let each of the panelists introduce their pilot project, and the goal of the pilot projects is to complete these within the next 3 to 6 months. At the end of 12 months, we want to be able to reflect back and to publicize and to reflect upon the lessons learned and the activities completed with the Council, such that we can not only say we have the largest regulatory group in the world, which we do, but we can also point to specific successes and businesses which have come out of them and initiatives which have resulted. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Jose Valles from DO being one of the largest telecoms in the country, who's going to introduce his pilot project on electronic medical health records. Please, Jose.
Thank you, Noah. Hello, everybody. Jose Valles, Vice President of Enterprise Services in New Business and Innovation at DO. I wanted to share with you something that you're probably familiar with. How many times have you gone to the doctor and you found yourself during the 21st minutes explaining to the doctor your background, all the problems, all the diseases that you've had, the issues that you had, if you had some surgery or something like that, and finally you realize that you forgot the x-rays that were needed in order to be able to have a good diagnosis, okay? This looks like a very familiar problem to everybody. Is something that actually generates a big issue, generates deaths, okay? Because not having the right information in the hands of the doctor when they are going to release a diagnosis puts your lives under threat, okay? Just as a number, in 2007 in the United States, 210,000 people died because of not having the right diagnosis, and it could have been solved. It was a mistake not to have it, okay? This problem is right now in process of being solved here in the UAE, okay? You won't need to go with your medical records under your arm. You'll be able to go to any hospital and the doctor will have direct access to all your background here in the UAE. There are 3 programs, 2 led here in Dubai. One is called Salama, that is about putting together all the electronic health records in the public sector, in public hospitals. Second one is called Nabib, that is also joining all the private hospitals. And then there is a third one at a UAE level that is called Namr, okay? This is a fantastic advance, but it also generates certain risks, okay? there is a risk of security of who is able to access to the electronic health record, who can manipulate it, if it can be hacked or not. And that's why we're bringing blockchain technology here in order to be able to secure the access to this data and to make sure that whenever the doctor is going to access the data, he's going to access to the right data, okay? We have partnered with a company called GuardTime. GuardTime is a company with patents that make blockchain technology scalable and fast. They have deployed these technologies already in Estonia, that is the country with the most advanced country in terms of electronic government, and we do believe that this is going to be a leapfrog in the adoption of these technologies here in the UAE. So, as I said, hopefully, in the coming future, you'll be able to use blockchain technology without even knowing that you're using it, and that is going to make your life easier when you go to the doctor. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you, Jose. We're not gonna have time for questions now. I'll just point out after the panel at the first networking break, you can ask any of the panelists for more information at the VIP area. Next, I'd like to introduce James Bernard from Dubai Multi-Commodity Center, DMCC.
Thanks, Noah. I'm going to keep very much descript because I know we don't have much time and I've got quite a few things to sort of put into this. First of all, DMCC is a Dubai government entity which was established in 2002. Basically to enhance trade flows through Dubai, and we perform various functions from establishing companies, regulating, and promoting of support systems and trade flows through commodities in Dubai. In 2015, we were also voted the best free zone in the world by FDI magazine. So the pilot project that we have is quite an interesting one. It's basically the Kimberly process. The Kimberly process certification scheme is a joint government, industry, and society initiative to stem the flow of conflict diamonds, so blood diamonds. It was set up to assure consumers, anyone who buys a diamond basically, that that diamond is not financing war or conflicting with human rights issues. So it was created when Southern African diamond-producing states met in Kimberly, which is a mining region in South Africa, and shortly after that, the United Nations Assembly adopted this in the creation of the International Certification Scheme for rough diamonds. So this is laying out the strict requirements for all trade of rough diamonds around the world. So today, the KP has around 54 participants and 81 countries. And the KP members count for approximately 99.8% of all diamond trade in the world. Last year, our chairman, who is here today, Ahmed bin Salim, was elected as the chair for the Kimberly process with Dubai for 2016. The Kimberly process is a perfect example how blockchain can be used for a system and process and can benefit from all of the benefits that we'll be discussing here today. Our aim is for this pilot project to use blockchain to digitize the issuance and transfer of the Kimberly process certificates, also for which are used for the transfer of shipments of rough diamonds globally, but also for the collection, transfer, and storage of trade data and statistics provided by each member country around the world on a monthly basis. There are two main areas of the Kimberly process that we're focusing on, which are certification and data sharing. So firstly, certification. The certification is basically to avoid conflict diamonds entering into what is a legitimate trade routes that the members of the Kimberly process have established, and to certify shipments of rough diamond as conflict-free. And the KP requires that every member and every shipment of rough diamonds exported to a participant must be accompanied by one of these certificates. So certification, the potential being a smart contract. The receiving KP office of all diamond shipments must also confirm receipt of this certificate. So that also plays into where the blockchain can actually be a really relevant application here. So the confirmation has a certificate number, the number of parcels, the carat, the weight, the diamond, exporter, importer, and country. So the original certificate must also be readily available for a period of up to 3 years. So the traceability of blockchain that blockchain offers, and the record keeping of it is also a perfect example. Secondly, data sharing. The KP also recognizes that the reliable and comparable data of the production and international trade of rough diamonds is also essential. It's an essential tool for the effective implementation of the certification scheme, particularly in identifying any irregularities or anomalies which could indicate conflict diamonds getting into the legitimate trade. So member countries must collect and maintain relevant official production, import, and export data, and collate and exchange such data on a monthly basis. A lot of accurate details must be captured here, transferred, and shared with other member countries. Using blockchain, we can centralize and secure the collection of all data. Today, diamond production and trade data is collected by all member countries, mainly using Excel and transferring it to centralized websites, which is far from ideal and could easily result in duplications, anomalies, and incorrect information through errors. Blockchain technology can be used to share a ledger across the member network. The networks can be secured using cryptographic technology. Permissions, so only authorized parties are allowed to join, and secured diamond data can be collected and added to the authorized users and immediately viewed to everyone across the world with easy access. So this establishes trust, accountability, transparency, with streamlining the process. It also has the potential to vastly reduce the cost and complexity of the processes involved. So the benefits really for the security, the contract, it's a secure network. There's immediate and easy global connectivity and access. It facilitates the accurate transfer of data. Members have immediate access and view. And it provides permanent records of all transactions and data to be collected. Blockchain can also be used to store, transfer the certificates as smart digitized contracts that can be immediately accessed by the receiving member countries' offices and vice versa. The benefits of this are that it eliminates the risk of duplication. Data is immediately available across the authorized networks. It provides the permanent record of all certificates, and it's secure and reduces risk. It also adds a lot of transparency to the entire system, which the Kimberly process is a real advocate of. So we're proud to be the chair of the Kimberly process this year, and thank you very much to Noah and his team for including us in this, and we hope to be able to wrap this project up with Bitoasis, and Ola will be talking shortly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James, and thank you to the chairman of DMCC who's joined us today. One thing I just want to mention is that whilst these are all interesting ideas, what is unique, I think, about this council is that all of the people required to actually implement these ideas are part of these projects. So perhaps unlike certain other pilot projects or explorations elsewhere in the world, all of the regulators, all the technical capability, and all of the players necessary to actually execute these are here today as part of the council. So this represents a very unique opportunity to actually get something done. Because we added one more member to the panel, I'm going to ask the panelists just to share a little bit less detail and go a little bit faster, but it's all quite exciting. So with that, I'll hand over to Pinaki Aich from the Dubai International Financial Center, who's going to describe their pilot project on wills and trusts.
Good morning, everyone. So essentially, if I ask the basic question that which organization or which kind of organizations in this part of the world actually generates the maximum amount of employment and probably revenue to the GDP, it's a pretty straightforward answer. It's the family businesses, it's SMEs, right from very small businesses to the multi-conglomerates. And essentially, every single report that you talk about, where you talk about family businesses, it points to the fact that during generational planning, when people move from one generation to the other, 75% of these businesses fail. And this is for various reasons, right? And the point is that every single statistic shows that within just this region, that is the MEASA region that we call it, the Middle East, South Asia, and Africa, within the next 10 years, there is going to be about $1 trillion worth of wealth exchanging hands from one generation to another. So essentially the project that we were interested in as DIFC, and why the DIFC is because DIFC is probably one of the few really successful English common law financial services jurisdiction in the world today. Today it's ranked among the top 20 financial centers in the world. We have an English common law jurisdiction within our mandate, which makes it easier for us to create contracts based on the English common law, which is probably way more acceptable when you're talking about expatriates, especially traveling outside. So this project we are working with is a company called Digitus, which Dr. Noah had already mentioned about. What we are looking at doing is essentially, obviously the challenge is pretty big. It's going to be a step-by-step process. The first step to that process is probably making wills more accessible to people by using blockchain and probably a digital platform. What do we mean by that? Essentially, things like time mapping on the blockchain, obviously private and public keys, all that makes it very easy for you to frame a digital will and basically send it out to the people, which people can fill it out, and then that will get stored through the registry on the blockchain. So it's probably a very ambitious plan, but we kind of are looking forward to doing this project, and that's about it. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Pinaki. That's fascinating. First blockchain-based wills to save $750 billion worth of value in the next 10 years. Excellent. Now I'd like to introduce Sean Dennis, the CEO of Loyyal, who's going to introduce a very interesting pilot project around incentivizing tourism in the UAE, in Dubai.
Good morning, my name is Greg Simon.
Sorry.
I'm the CEO and co-founder of Loyyal. We're a universal platform in the loyalty and rewards industry, built using blockchain and smart contract technology, and we're creating Dubai Points, which is a tourism incentivization program. So the first time I visited Dubai, I only had 2 days of free time around my work, and I didn't have time available to research where to go, and there were so many options, I had no idea what to do. So I ended up just visiting a mall for a few hours, and I went home. And I felt disappointed because I thought I could have gotten a better connection with Dubai. So what we've done at Loyyal is we're creating a way to have a more customized, unique experience for the tourist. Think of it as, for example, something like a treasure hunt, where I can be dynamically incentivized to visit specific places, and then I can take those rewards that I earn and I can redeem them for anything that I want. For example, I can get a room in the Burj Al Arab, I can top up my DO SIM card, or I can get a coffee at the local coffee shop, really anywhere, because it's secured across the distributed ledger. But in addition to that, another unique feature is you can take a selfie, and you can actually embed a picture of yourself within the Dubai point as you're paying. And now the merchant that receives that can use it as media, or something such as media as a currency, which is a concept that we've been developing in Loyyal for some time now. But who needs another rewards program? I mean, I'm already in dozens, and I can't keep track of them. It's confusing, and most of the balances are tiny, so there's nothing I can do with it anyways. Dubai Points is unique in that any merchant can facilitate earning or redemption. So I can take all of those tail balances that I have, and I can use those as Dubai Points, aggregate that value, and I can redeem it in one place for whatever I want. But we take it a step further than that. We allow customized incentivization specifically for me. And this is made possible with our smart contract technology. So imagine I'm walking around town, and a few blocks away is a point of interest that's similar to things I've visited in the past and I enjoy, but I don't know what's there. So I can be notified, hey Greg, this place nearby is something that you would probably enjoy visiting. Why don't you go and you'll get 2 or 3 times the normal reward value for going. And I look at it and I say, hey, yeah, that looks great. And I go and I enjoy visiting there. So in the future, the data we can use to incentivize behavior can be anything that's measurable. It can be who I'm with, where other tourists are at, congestion, how many times I've been there, the temperature outside, perhaps, or really anything, as long as we have access to that data source. But now as the number of tourists grow, and as these tourists go home, now they can take a piece of Dubai home with them, so they have a connection. And they can even spend it at a local merchant at home. That local merchant in their home country or their hometown, all they have to do is access the Loyyal network, which is simply downloading a wallet that is permissioned to accept it, and now they can spend their Dubai points anywhere they want at home. And this illustrates the scalability of a secured distributed network. Incidentally, this is where I would mention for the technical people here, that we've developed our own proprietary modular blockchain stack we call Abstracted Value Consensus Protocol. It's a permission stack that's designed specifically for the loyalty and rewards industry, because that's all that we do. So if anybody wants to know more about that, come talk to me later.
Super.
So it's much bigger than just tourism. This Dubai Points program can help people living here to achieve a more rewarding life according to their own personal lifestyle. And that can be help to bring Dubai towards being the happiest city by 2020, right? So in conclusion, we have a number of very exciting partners that are already involved in our program, and I hope I don't forget any because it's growing. A major airline, Jumeirah, we have Digitus, Square Circle, Privity, and we're in discussions with PwC to also help with strategy. So in true Dubai style, we want this program to be huge. So if you have interest in participating in any way, please talk to us. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Greg. That's fantastic. Next, I would like to introduce Vignesh Raja from Viktor Koenig, who's going to talk about blockchain for enhancing the import-export digital trade process.
Hello, my name is Vignesh. I represent Viktor Koenig, which is a private equity and commodity trading firm. So before I explain the pilot project, I just want through a scenario so that it will be better of easy explanation. So imagine if I want to start a business and I want to use the bootstrap my business using the assets I have. Basically, we have illiquid and liquid assets. So the problem is most of the illiquid assets are not very easy to collateralize or to get loans or immediately liquidate them. So what we are planning to do is using blockchain, we want to create new digital assets and probably giving new tokens to digitalize the existing physical assets and also use smart contracts for increasing efficiency of trade. So what we have done is, so for a particular use case, we found out the trade flow, which is part of the DMCC, as the best use case to start off with. So what is a trade flow? Trade flow is an online platform that basically is part of DMCC. What it does is it's a central registry of physical commodities. So what they do is, if a person, say if I'm a commodity trader, I put all my commodities over there in a physical vault that is actually present in DMCC. And against this physical vault, they actually give us a warrant, which is a certification of ownership with the saying how much quantities of gold or other commodities that you own. So what we want to do is basically digitalize that. So by digitalizing that, we'll actually reducing friction and also connecting with other players like banks and other financial institutions, so that if you want to, for example, I want to sell my assets immediately, I want to take a loan from the bank, it can be immediately done using blockchain. And we are also planning to look into some aspects of Islamic finance. For example, using blockchain, since the assets are pegged against, since the tokens that we are planning to create is pegged against the real assets, it kind of allows us to track whether this asset can be used for halal or haram purposes. So we are actually working with a company called DX Markets based out of Switzerland, who is helping us in implementation. We are also looking for other partners to join us in this project. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Vignesh. Vignesh had the hardest one of them all to describe an extremely sophisticated proposal of a very technical process, so congratulations, very well done. I would now like to introduce Ola Doudin, the co-founder of Bitoasis, one of our local Bitcoin and blockchain startups, who's going to talk about digital company registration.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ola. I'm co-founder of Bitoasis. We're a Bitcoin and blockchain solutions company based in Dubai. We're probably one of the very few technology implementers in the council. So we've built our blockchain solutions that helps us enable a lot of the proof of concepts in the platform. So that's why probably you hear our name in multiple projects. So we've got our sort of blockchain solutions that help us iterate fast on different use cases. One use case that we are pretty excited about is digitizing company formation on the blockchain. So imagine that you can set up your own company in a free zone, plus bank account and other corporate services all online through one blockchain that actually has the records of company formation or as shareholders and founders on the blockchain. That free zones, banks, telecom companies, other corporate service providers can all tap into to verify and basically verify documents of companies and verify identity and so forth. So the whole idea actually started when we first were sort of the very first new members of the council, and we worked with DMCC actually on demoing record keeping and signing of company records for leases. So we've got sort of one part of that process demoed live on the blockchain that allows you to verify the owner of the document and the digital signature of the document owner, and then sort of tracking that on the blockchain. So the whole idea, rather than sort of, you can open a company and that might take you a day, but you still need to be there present in the free zone to sign. When you go to a bank account, you actually need to take certified copies of those papers and also present yourself at the bank and go through sort of a rigorous process, opening other corporate services and sort of just replicating the efforts again and again and again. So rather than having a process that takes days to set up a company in Dubai, that could actually be done behind a computer in minutes, a few clicks. If everyone can tap into sort of one blockchain that has copies of records that are certified and signed by owners. So that's sort of the idea of the project. We've started out with DMCC. We're looking now to add more free zones if they'd like to be part of the proof of concept. So if you're a bank, telecom company, or a free zone and you're happy to sort of experiment with the flow that we built, feel free to talk to me after the panel, and we'd be happy to sort of sign you up with an account and go forward.
Super, great. So then one last minute addition whom you'll be hearing more from on a subsequent panel. I'd like to introduce Mr. Iqbal AliKhan from IBM, who's going to share some high-level details about a very exciting pilot project they're working on here around ports and trade.
Thanks, Noah. Iqbal AliKhan, I work for IBM. We're very excited about a conversation that we've been happening and about what anchors Dubai. If you think about it, trade is the element that anchors Dubai. And on that basis, Dubai has made huge progress with the ports that it's managing and the integration that they're doing with all of the logistic companies and how logistic companies are establishing themselves here. So we're doing a transshipment use case, and that involves a port, that involves a local bank, one of the larger ones here. It involves two logistic companies. One is a courier company and one is a shipping company. And there is an international bank that's also taking part in this POC. So we're very excited about this. And we're hoping, I'll talk a little bit more about it when we're talking about my panel discussion, the presentation I'm making. And we're looking forward to actually having a lot more information around this to share with everybody.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
thank you, Iqbal. So thank you all the panelists. One thing which you may have noticed is that in Dubai, we're very fast. So amazingly, perhaps for the first time in any panel I've ever sat on anywhere, we have time for questions. So we have more time. We have about 15 or 20 minutes. Let me just very briefly summarize. These are 7 of the very exciting pilot projects which we're developing in the council. There's at least as many more which are under development, which can't be spoken about in public. And then there's at least as many more which are still being cooked over the next few months. So expect more. We should be hearing results from these initial 7 quite soon, as well as hopefully some of the others which will be able to be spoken about in public. And with that, let me very briefly summarize the 7 for you, and then we can open it up to questions and answers. So the very first pilot project discussed was from DO, and this was working with guard time to take the medical health records on the blockchain to make that easier and more secure. The next one was around the Kimberly diamond certification process from DMCC, DMCC being the chairperson, the UAE being the chair country for that this year, so a very exciting opportunity to help advance this process. The next was around putting wills and trusts on the blockchain with Dubai International Financial Center, the main authority for doing this in English language jurisdiction. The next was around Dubai Points, an extremely interesting cross-loyalty platform integration and tourism incentive program with Greg from Loyyal. We then spoke with Vignesh about enhancing digital trade, specifically for warrants, which is a very interesting challenge related to Islamic economy. And then Ola mentioned digital company registration before Iqbal spoke about using blockchain for import-exports. So, very brief summary. Who has any questions? Open to any questions? Yep. We have a couple of mics here. Question here on the left, please.
Simon from Banks of the Future. I should disclose I'm an investor in Loyyal as well. So.
Fantastic. We like that.
A lot of people, everyone's been talking about blockchain. Blockchain theory would state that the most secure blockchain is the one with the longest chain. And there's only one secure blockchain at the moment, which is Bitcoin. So I'm wondering if maybe everyone wants to give an opinion, or a couple of people you want to take it. It seems that there's only one. Sure. It seems that there's only one secure blockchain at the moment. Will you be using the Bitcoin blockchain or creating a less secure one?
So the question, which had a little bit of a value judgment embedded in it, if I might, was will you be using the Bitcoin blockchain, which has the longest history, or will you be using other types of blockchains? Is that an accurate summary? Yeah. Anyone want to tackle that?
I'll start.
All right, go ahead, Greg.
So I've been involved with Bitcoin and blockchain since early 2013. I'm a well-known advocate of the Bitcoin blockchain. However, when dealing with enterprise users of distributed trust, having anonymity can create specific problems with regulations and legal environments. And therefore, in some cases, you have to concede a certain level of that security in order to remove the anonymity for enterprise users to be allowed to do it. You know, when you're dealing with capital invested by someone else, you have a fiduciary duty to follow the law. And one of the things that's difficult is if you are in a financial transaction with an unknown entity, and therefore you can't quantify the risk of that counterparty. To allow for blockchain to receive enterprise adoption now, mainstream, a certain level of permissioning is a solution. Long term, who knows what happens, but for the immediate term, that's a way for us to get it out into enterprise users.
Ola, Iqbal, then Ola, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so permissioning actually is a critical element for trade. I mean, you have to have the same entity. So if you take the example of a bank, you could have two banks that could be an importer and an exporter. So an issuer of an LC and a receiver of an LC. But then a third bank would be just a confirmer of the LC. In this particular transaction, the confirmer would have the least amount of information. But in another transaction, that confirming bank could be the issuer of the LC. So the amount of information has to be driven by the role that they're playing. So permissioning is going to have to be a critical element if you get into transactions which are going to drive the majority of the economy.
Ola?
Thank you. I actually agree with you that the longest chain is the most secure chain. And I think there are various implementations as layers on top of the Bitcoin blockchain that can tap into the security of the transactions that the longest chain can provide, but also build, to some extent, permission applications on top of that as side chains and other applications, and that's one area we're looking into. There were various applications or implementations on top of Bitcoin that would utilize the timestamping feature of the blockchain, but I don't think every now and then, obviously, someone comes up with a new implementation, but I think one thing that excites us is sidechain implementations that potentially can tap into the security of the longest chain, but allow semi-private applications and confidential transactions using sidechains.
If I could just add one thing, I think from a government perspective, you know, KYC and AML are important facts of life, and it's important that we're able to back these initiatives with confidence that it's not going to expose us to additional risks. So I think one of the things that we're balancing here in Dubai is trying to understand how to best secure these applications without adding additional layers of bureaucracy and undue security, if you will. So it's a very delicate balance, and I think that many governments around the world are struggling with how to balance encouraging innovation here such that you can get the benefits and security associated with blockchain technologies without opening up to undue risks for a variety of different actors. Great. Well, I have a question, and I'm going to ask James about this question. I think one of the interesting things about these pilot projects is that we're pushing into territory where there have been similar ideas but very few actual implementations. And as we know, working on the leading edge of innovation, change often encounters resistance. So I would like to ask you guys in the most diplomatic way possible, what are some of the challenges that you faced implementing or even speaking about something exciting like the Kimberly process, which is a large multinational exercise where not everyone might be as excited about these technologies as we are?
Yeah, thanks. Actually, our chairman introduced Ola at the Kimberly process dinner the other night, and she did a presentation on blockchain and how that would be implemented for the Kimberly process. And it was obviously received with different ideas and some confusion, some acceptance, some people saying, wow, that's great. It does require a lot of discussion, and I think the Blockchain Council that's now been formed goes a long way to educate people. It's not just all of us sitting in the room, but it's just the people on the street, it's the banks, the dues, the telecoms, just every business out there has to be informed about it and make an educated decision on what their investment, time-wise, money-wise, into this. DMCC's recently, or over the past few years, invested heavily into technology, be it our trade flow platform, be it our futures exchange, DGCX, or Salesforce that we use for our free zone. But we always have to be ready to step up and look at new technologies and new innovations, and hopefully DMCC will continue to do that and continue to support it. And I think we show that by being part of the Blockchain Council.
Fantastic, thank you. And you're definitely one of the early adopters and most aggressive supporters, so thank you. Greg, you're perhaps one of the most consumer-facing applications here, although the medical health records one will obviously touch many people's lives. In your experience selling this to regular users, if you will, how have you found the most effective ways to communicate the value without getting into too much of the technical detail?
The most effective way is to let Sean do that. We're quite fortunate, actually, that we're a B2B business in that our customers are the loyalty and rewards programs operators. We don't have to deal directly with their customers. What attracts them is the ability to have greater utility and improve the customized connection with their customer. But when they, for example, we have clients on our platform now, and the integration of our stack behind the user interface is totally seamless. The user doesn't even have to know that blockchain is powering it. All they need to know is that with this particular program, I can do these very cool things that are customized for me, and I feel a closer connection with that brand. For this guy, I can't, right? So that's the differentiation we're going to see in that market going forward. But powered by blockchain doesn't even really have to be known by the end user.
That's fascinating. I mean, one of the complaints against Bitcoin originally, but I think this is increasingly so around blockchain, is that it's just extraordinarily complex to understand and access, and there hasn't been that killer app. So this is an open question to the rest of the panelists. Do you feel like that might be transitioning into something that is more user-friendly, even if the user might be another business or a consumer?
So I mean, on that, actually, the whole idea of as technology is progressing, and when we're looking at this and digitization, the idea is that as far as the user goes, it should be most easy for them to use, just a natural thing that they would go on and do. But all of the blockchains and all of this new technology that's coming in, this is all in the background. It's just to provide security so that there's safety around that. But as far as the user goes, the user interface should be absolutely logical.
Fantastic. Jose?
Well, if I may, I think I'm the only not technologist here in the panel. Honestly, I don't care about blockchain by itself. I care about the things that it brings to the table, right? I always tell one example. When I look at my kids, I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old. They use technology all the time. They don't know what they're using, okay? They just know about how they use it, and they love it, okay? So this is the same. The way we need to present technology to people is about the use cases that we're putting on the table. Look, if you go to the doctor and the information there is secure or not, actually the customers don't know. It's our obligation, like the Ministry of Health, my health authority, and the technology partners that are out there, to be the ones providing a secure environment to the customer. Okay. I always share one information that is pretty interesting. I saw the first time that I saw Telegram was like 4 years ago in a conference in Palo Alto, and they were talking about the benefits of having encrypted messaging, okay? They were thinking that they were going to eat the world, and I remember technology bloggers talking about it, like, oh, these guys are going to eat WhatsApp, okay? WhatsApp keeps on being the biggest messaging platform in the world, and they introduced encrypted messages like a couple of months ago. Customers don't care, okay? It's the obligation of the technology companies to be the ones providing the technology that is going to provide security in a way that is actually invisible to customers.
Fantastic. Pinaki?
So, I mean, as I say, don't sell the customer the nail, right? Sell the customer the hole in the wall, essentially. And if you look at blockchain per se, they say that blockchain is 3 levels. There is blockchain version 1, version 2, version 3. And at version 1, which is essentially cryptocurrencies, which we see in terms of Bitcoin and everything. And on that, people have been making an effort, like the likes of 21 Computer, which actually wanted to take Bitcoins right to the consumer end, where they can generate their own Bitcoins through every electronic equipment that you make, so that you can start relating to it. But I think things like the blockchain 2, and which is where our project is, the whole idea is that yeah, it might not be the longest blockchain that we create. Obviously, this will be like family businesses. This will not definitely be a public blockchain. This will probably be a private blockchain. But at the same time, because of the double encryption inherently required in these, so blockchain, in a sense, is an animal which can be kind of tamed based on your own needs. And I think you will see different versions of that. But the end benefits of it are so powerful that I think beyond technology, it definitely is going to penetrate in every aspect of life.
Fantastic. Any questions? We have 2 in the audience, please. Please start with the beard.
The question's about the tension between responsibility and opportunity. And in particular, given that there's no standalone data protection legislation, whether that essentially is an opportunity to share data and exploit data, especially in the B2C use cases, or should businesses such as yours take a proactive approach and look at other jurisdictions where there is data protection law and build in consent frameworks and act responsibly.
So this is about the tension between privacy, data sharing laws, and I'm sure Her Excellency Dr. Aich will talk about this shortly. But please, panelists.
So I'll take it from the perspective of, for example, the Dubai International Financial Center. So we have had a data protection law for the last, I think, 7-8 years, which is pretty international, state of the art. And when it comes to open data, obviously the region will see a lot more happening there. Obviously, you've seen in the likes of Singapore, where they've unanimously kind of declared that open APIs will be uniform across the board now. But then, along with that, now we also have the technology where people can decide what data you want to share and heavily encrypt it, and the rest of the data can be shared. Because obviously banks don't share every single private information of the customer, but they will share things. Like, for example, what your demographic is, what your details are, what your address is not important for me as a fintech provider, for example. But what's important is your transactions. Because from there, I can figure out your needs, and based on that, I can create a solution which will be based on the user interface or whatever it is. And I think that's where laws like what DIFC created about 8 years back is going to be really beneficial for Dubai, and I think for the region per se.
And actually, we have also open data law that was announced a few months ago. Dr. Aich is here, and she can tell you a lot about it. And there's another thing. It depends on the use case that we're implementing. The access to data is going to be bigger or smaller. For example, in the case that we're implementing, the customer electronic health record is not going to be distributed in blockchain. That is going to continue in the systems of the different hospitals. What we keep in blockchain is the logs of changes, so we're able to verify whether the data has been misused or modified during a period. So that allows security about the usage of the electronic health record, but that is not going to be accessible outside of the chain. Okay.
Great. Another question, please.
If anything is being done for educating the courts, because at some point, smart contracts are going to have to be enforced. And we already have difficulties with the local courts understanding financial transactions, for example. I'm talking to DMCC specifically, and then to Ola about companies.
The question was about the courts. What, if anything, is being done to educate the courts? I would posit that these are 7 things that are being done to educate the courts, amongst the many others. But the purpose of the Blockchain Council was explicitly this, was to provide use cases and precedents that we can use as evidence to start to explore the issues around this for the courts. But you're very right in the sense that there are various elements of well, there are various players in Dubai and the UAE who are more or less advanced with even the adoption of things like electronic signatures. So we're talking about a very heterogeneous environment here, and what we're trying to do is provide leading examples of best case uses of that, which we can then interpret on a case-by-case basis. So that's a long way of saying there are no use cases yet, there are no precedents, and so we're trying to establish legal precedent here that can be studied appropriately and therefore hopefully inform the various jurisdictions. Any other questions? Sorry, I answered that on behalf of the panel. Does anyone have anything to say about that?
I actually wanted to reiterate.
Does anyone violently disagree with me?
I'll just do a plug for my company here. One of the advantages of rewards points is it's because of the industry is so fragmented that it's not considered a currency. It's not considered a fiat currency. It's not even considered a virtual currency. It's actually exempted from most virtual currency definitions. And we've developed our proprietary stack in such a way that none of the private and personal information ever goes on our ledger. The only thing that goes on there is the point balance for each of the rewards programs. So we designed it specifically to avoid your problem. So we can go to market while other people determine how to do that because we circumvent it the way we've built it.
And I just think that's I think that's a very clever approach, which you'll see consistent across these case studies, is that there are no explicitly financial pilot projects here. I mean, these all have financial elements or related to financial implications. But these are around record keeping, around exchange of information, around improving the business process, very much emphasizing the blockchain component of that as a distributed ledger that can help enhance efficiency, if not through smart contracts, just even in sharing of information, but also, of course, we hope over time through smart contracts. So, very last question, yeah? Just no more time? Last question. So, one thing our boss, His Excellency Mohammed Gurgawi, always says is, what are your dreams? What's your wish list? And so given that we're here talking about the future, I'm just going to ask you guys very briefly to share 3 to 5 years from now, 5 to 6 years from now, what do you hope to see happen in blockchain and the implementation of these things? Rolling this out, what's your ideal dream for Dubai, but for the world? Who would like to start?
Well, I have a big wish.
Great.
Like a foreigner, I moved here to the UAE 2 years ago, and I found certain things very painful. And honestly, I do believe that the implementations that we're doing in the pilots that we have right now, the one that Ola is putting in place, is something that can really help citizens of this country to be happier. Okay, so being able to manage the access to data of citizens, certificate data, etc., in a distributed way, in a secure way, is something that is going to be very good for the country, and is something that we should really go to. If we're able to do these things that really impact the lives of people, that is a great way to push technology forward. So.
Yeah, that's good. Let me just tell a little anecdote about that. When I first moved here almost 7 years ago, I had to get my PhD attested. And so I got my PhD at MIT, which is the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And that wasn't on the standard list of universities because it's an institute, not a university. So the amount of process I had to go through getting it stamped and then re-stamped and attested and all of these sorts of things was an extraordinarily painful process. And I, like Jose and like many of us in this room, I can attest to the fact that it's really not happy. It makes you very unhappy to have to do that sorts of things. So as Her Excellency will speak about soon, these are very intimately related to really making people's lives better. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, DMCC, we have a lot of data, we have a lot of processes, and we link up with a lot of other companies in Dubai, such as Dubai Land Department, Dubai Health, DTCM, any of these others, the banks. So duplication of data is really time-consuming, and it's just everyone feels it. So to be able to have accurate, secure, non-duplicated data on a blockchain system that can be shared throughout Dubai would be hugely valuable to all of us, I think. So,
great. Any other final thoughts?
I think on the trade, that's where our passion is, or my passion is anyway, is I think that there is so much complexity today, and that actually slows down the amount of trade that can actually happen in the market. And there is a huge opportunity to facilitate that and get a lot more. I mean, there's an estimate that says 1/3 of the trade that comes through today in the world is on letter of credits and goes through banks. 2/3 is people, just taking punts. And if you can get even 50% of that 2/3 onto, a proper channel, that's going to just be amazing. And if Dubai can be the center of that, there's nothing that would be better than that.
Fantastic. Well, I think we have a new T-shirt slogan, blockchain for happiness. You heard it here first. On behalf of the Dubai Future Foundation and the conference organizers, please join me in thanking the panelists.